Well, I'm just honored to be here to work with you, Miss Downs, in the fifth grade. You guys are the spearhead and tip of the spear for this Haiti project. And I thought we'd start with a Haiti proverb. I've got 13 great questions here from you guys, and I'm going to answer them all or try to answer them all. I was really impressed with the questions. I'm going to take them a little bit out of order just to give a sequence to it. But first, this is a Haitian proverb uh, that I think ties in with our project. The Haitians say, "What the eye cannot see, the heart cannot understand. What the eye cannot see, the heart cannot understand." And, when we started this project, and I'm going to give you a little background, answer some of your questions about how it got started. But when we started it in 1986, uh, before you guys were born for sure, maybe before some of your parents were born, who knows? Uh, we made this. We didn't really know where Haiti was, and I'll sort of fill you in that. But we hadn't traveled to Haiti for a few years, and uh, we started the project. And the first year, we brought in $615 in pennies and change. When you compare it to over $20,000 last year. Well, one of the differences was when we first started traveling to Haiti, we took pictures. And it made all the difference. What the eye cannot see, the heart cannot understand. And so when we brought back pictures and can show them to the students, immediately the students, the yearly take doubled, tripled. We made our first million pennies. And, last year was more than 2 million pennies. Uh, $20,000. So the pictures help. So I want to just show you three pictures and just narrate a little bit. Hopefully I can work this thing just to give your eyes a little look at what it looks like in Haiti. So this is the first picture. Sort of a tough picture, but did it show up there?
Yes, it's on.
All right, all right. Let me get back to where I can see it myself. Yeah, that is just in our village. And this is a kid, that is where they cook their meals uh, outdoors. Uh, Usually in a Haitian house, they'll have a cook shack behind or cook outdoors because their houses aren't very big and they wouldn't want to start a fire in them. So they mostly cook outdoors. And that's a kid who either meal is over or he's waiting for it. You see he's not wearing any clothes. Sometimes with the very youngest kids, uh, they leave their bottoms off, especially if they're having some kind of mm, you know distress, uh, and going to the bathroom and whatever. And so it's easier to do it that way. This house wouldn't even have a outdoor bathroom. Probably this is we saw a lot of that when we first started working in Haiti. And this is just something that should never be. No kid should have to do that and be that hungry. I'm going to show you another one, um, which is a little bit more hopeful in the way we're going, why we're doing this, to turn that first picture into. You should have a picture in the classroom, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, those are some of the kids uh, that we've been helping. You can see a little bit about the classroom right there. Nobody has an individual desk. And really, if I could show you some other classroom pictures, you see that there'll be two or three, they'll be very close, no social distancing there. Now, that's lunchtime. The Haitian school day ends at right around 11:30 or noon. They get there earlier than you guys do. They get there just after first light, so they start early and they do like a half a day because past noon it's really most days, even in the winter, it's too hot. And plus, some of them have to walk home up into the mountains, maybe an hour or so. So they end with lunch. This is the end of the day, and That's a plate of rice and beans, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this may be their one meal of the day. Think about that for a minute. That that if you're only eating one meal a day, and some of these kids will actually save some of it, put it in a little container, and take some home to their family. They won't eat the whole thing because this, in any given day, might be their only meal of the day. And here's just one more picture that uh, is important to see the whole picture here. Yeah. This is, I know this teacher. She's beautiful young woman, and I haven't seen her for a while. But here's the kids coming up, and she's giving them. You can see the rice, the big bowl of rice, and she's ladling out some gravy on top of it, which has herbs and spices. It's really it tastes good and the beans as well, beans and rice, and they come out one at a time, and she serves them. Now this is keeping people alive there. So I just wanted you to see where it goes. And the first thing, I mean, if we can't keep the students alive, uh, they can't learn. And if you hadn't eaten in a normal question that I'll ask when I do go to visit the school is how many of you ate this morning? Well, maybe a third, and two-thirds of them are coming without having any food. And then how many of you haven't eaten in 2 days? Well, about a third. And then how many of you haven't eaten in 3 days? About another third. Uh, so lets you know what we're dealing with here. And so when we can't feed the kids, and it is iffy, even with when we have the money to feed them, sometimes we can't find the food to buy. I'll sort of explain that. But this is what we're dealing with. And this is what you've been helping with. And maybe your parents, maybe even your grandparents, because if they were around in 1986, have been helping with uh, for some years. All right, well, we'll go back to the full screen now. So those pictures can sort of make it a little realer for you. I want to get to your questions now. Uh, and I have them sort of sequenced. The second question on the list is why did we choose Haiti to donate to, and how did you get interested in Haiti? That's question 2 or 3. Those are good questions because I was going to start with that anyway. Oh, it was 1986. Mrs. Z and I were just we had been teaching for 3 or 4 years at St. Joseph, and after the last mass of the day on Sunday, they said that they were going to have a slideshow on Haiti by a woman from Nashville who was trying to interest parishes to support other parishes in Haiti. Well, also, Missy and I and our uh, uh, first son, who was 7 then, and he was like in the first or second grade at St. Joseph's. I can't remember which. I think probably second. Uh, we stayed after to watch the slides, and oh, it just totally grabbed us and broke our hearts too to see how the young kids especially were living and the old people. So Father Clarence Howard was the uh, pastor then. After the slideshow, I went and talked to him and I said, we should help a parish there. And I said, we could actually use it during Lent to just let the children know that not everybody lives like you guys live, like they live in the Bardstown, and how some people are working, living in the world. And he said, "Well, okay, if you run it." He had a lot on his plate, and I said, "Yeah, we'll do it. The seventh grade will do it. Sister Teresa and I'll do it." And so we took it on. And that first year, we really didn't. I couldn't have really actually told you where Haiti was exactly, but we started that year, and we started learning ourselves about Haiti and started educating. And we did the fund drive, and like I said, we sort of half filled up an aquarium, smaller one than you guys are using. We just raised $651 or something like that. There was a lot of money to Haiti at that time, and we sent it to them. They were very happy to get it. Well, in a few years, uh, uh, we start to travel to Haiti, and that's uh, question one on how many times have you been to Haiti? Well, I've been more than 2 dozen times uh, over the years, um, and it's always a trip. I've taken students from St. Joseph, eighth grade students there in the past. My one son and my one daughter, they both went in the eighth grade, and then they went in the 10th grade with me when they were at Bethlehem. I've taken other eighth grade students and took during the years took a group from Bethlehem one year, uh, which was a great trip. And it changes you when you see it. Seeing those pictures could give you an idea, but being in Haiti um, changes your life. The son that I took is working with uh, underprivileged children in Louisville. He's working with the poor in Louisville. And the daughter who went, she's a nurse now, and she's working with the poor in Atlanta. But both of them were changed by that because they realized that some people don't make it because they don't have the support. Now, question 10, I think, was will you go back to Haiti this year? Well, sad to say, no. Uh, I didn't go last year either. The situation and this brings you up to date, sort of. The situation in Haiti has deteriorated a lot in the last 2 years. And I didn't go last year because COVID was just breaking. I normally go in February, normally bring people from the parish, adults too, in February. Well, it was very uncertain then with COVID. And since then, uh, the political situation, which would take days to explain, but it just has gone from bad to worse. And right now, we're having trouble even getting the money that we've raised in the past last year, all the years. We have trouble even getting the money to our parish now. The teachers have not been paid for 4 months. And the kids, up until this week, it was they weren't getting the lunch because we couldn't send the money. They couldn't buy the food. It has to do with what's going on, the instability in the country. But it has been really rough. It's a real crisis. Uh, we teamed up with Food for the Poor, which is an organization out of Florida, out of Miami, and actually managed just this week. It's the best news we've had for a while to get uh, 80 sacks of food there. You might have seen that empty sack that was along with the hummingbird picture. That it's like a 40-kilogram sack from the Food for the Poor. Well, we got 40 sacks of rice and 40 sacks of beans actually delivered through from delivered to our village. So perhaps the kids are eating today, and it's to miss your only meal of the day. Well, people are not doing well. So uh, so I won't be going this year. I hope to go next year. I mean, one year the earthquake happened right before we were coming. So of course the great earthquake of 2010, which killed 300,000 Haitians like that, you know. Um, so we didn't go that year, but we went the following fall. Uh, so I hope to go next year. I miss going, as I just love the people, and hopefully we'll be going again next year. We had a trip planned for the youth group before COVID, and then everything fell apart on a lot of levels. And some high school guys from the youth group were hoping to go, and we never actually went. Never actually went with that group, but we've taken them before. Hopefully again. So that's a good question. Let's talk a little bit about the students. Question 11 on my list was how many kids are in the school? Well, it varies, but sometimes it's about the same size as St. Joseph. It's just about the same, over 300 kids. It can go up or down a lot depending on what's going on, depending on whether kids have the money to go there. It doesn't cost much money to go there by our standards, but by Haitian standards, sometimes they don't even have money to buy a uniform and you have to have a uniform. So it's about 320 kids, so about the same as our school. Uh, how much money does it cost to feed a kid for a day or a year? Well, we put it together in terms of how much does it cost to actually educate and feed and educate a student. So what does it cost to feed and educate a student for a whole year there? $120 American dollars. uh, and that's a terrific deal. When you think about, you may probably don't know what your parents are paying for you to be at St. Joseph, but it's a lot more than that. And so this is a great deal when you could feed and educate a student for $120. And so when you multiply that by 300 kids, say, normally our budget for the year that we send Haiti is somewhere around $34,000 a year. Um, and for that, we can run the whole school, educate and feed the kids, and then also help people in the parish as well. And if you knew anything about the budget at St. Joseph, it's probably a $500,000 to do that, just to run the school. Uh, and so it's a little bit of money. It can really have a great impact. There's that. Let's see. How much money does it cost? Well, we've got that. Okay. Uh, what does a day look like in Haiti? Is another interesting question. It's a little vague, but I'm looking. This is what a day looks like for a student. They get up before the sun rises, and they dress in the dark, unless they're lucky enough to have one of these. We brought these solar lanterns a few years ago, and they're still in existence. They're still working, uh, and you can see how these things work. So a Haitian family might have one of these hanging in the middle of their house. Their houses are usually one room, and this would give enough light for not only people to get dressed in the morning, but to maybe study at night and to cook a meal or whatever. But at the nighttime, it's very dark in the village. Haitians have unbelievable eyes. My son was convinced they could see in the dark, uh, and it probably is a bit true. But so the kids will get up, they'll dress in the dark. Maybe they have the solar lamp. These were when we brought these a few years ago, people lined up for hours waiting to get one at the church, and some of them are still working. Uh, they can give you 12 hours of, that's a little solar cell on the top, and give you 12 hours of light for 7 hours of sunlight. So Haiti gets a lot of sun, so that's a great deal. Um, and then, they might walk across two or three rivers to come from the mountains because we're in the mountains. And the town is in the center of these mountains. And that will relate to some of your other questions. We're very high up, and we're very remote, and so some of these kids will walk. They'll take their shoes off and wade two or three rivers, and when it when it rains, there is no school. They don't have snow days. They've never seen snow, but they have rain days, and when it rains, they don't. They call off school because it's just not safe, for little kids. Some of our little kids wading through a river, because the rivers all of a sudden get going very fast and very deep. Sometimes when the rain comes in suddenly while the kids are at school, they have to stay overnight in the town because they cannot walk home. Uh, let's see. What games would kids play? Well, if they play, the game there is soccer, of course. They call it football. Football. Uh, and soccer would be if they're playing, but most of the kids really don't. They don't play. They're if they're not at school, and there's many kids in our town who don't go to school at all. They're working. From you little kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, are walking down to the river to get water, or they're carrying firewood, and you almost have to teach children in Haiti to play. Um, it's to see it is very interesting and very very it sort of breaks your heart to see that these little kids are working from sun up to sundown and maybe they're carrying goods with their mother to the market to sell. uh, Virtually no one in our town has a job where they get a salary. Our teachers are some of the few people in the town. Teachers are people who get a salary every month. Ours haven't gotten their salary for 4 months. And so, teachers listening to this, you know how hard it is to teach. And then, if you have no salary, you have no food to feed your kids. It is a crisis. It is a crisis. So, yeah, but when they play soccer. And we did have a visit from some Haitian children years back. They came to sing and dance for us. They were like a dance troupe. And we brought them down to eat lunch with the students. They went through with the seventh grades. It was a Friday. They were having grilled cheese, etc. And that was such an interesting day because one of my students got me at the faculty table, sort of nudged me. I said, "Yeah," and she said, she just pointed, and a couple of the Haitians were going in the garbage can. The kids were going in the garbage can, fishing out grilled cheese sandwiches or half of ones that were thrown in there. And so I went over there. I said, "Are you still hungry?" And they said, "Oh, we, yes, yes." And I said, "Well, no, you can't eat those. You can't eat out of the garbage." And they said, "Well, that's food." And I said, I know, but if you, I will run you back through the line if you wanted to. We can't eat out of the garbage. And they looked at me. They were like surprised. They're saying, "Well, it's food. Why can't you eat it?" So I took them back through. Some of them went through a third time. And then when they went out in the playground, finally, they played soccer with the seventh grade, and they were so excited to off and start playing, and oh, beat them pretty bad. So they were great. They love soccer. Um, let's see. Oh, so a couple questions on COVID-19 related. Somebody asked, this is a good question. Do they have medicines like we do? Well, no, they don't. And that's going to be a tip off about how they're doing with COVID. Um, the medicines that they do have, we bring when we take a trip. We do it in our backpack, our clothes, and then in a suitcase, we usually bring medicine. And so the medicine we bring into the parish is what they have. And they don't have a doctor in the town. It's 40 kilometers away to find a doctor. We don't even have electricity. Uh, so, and then if these kids are hungry, their immune system is depressed, or people are, one of the safety things about the virus is if you're in good health, and when you're malnourished, you're not in good health. And so the second question was, the last question, do they, what is it? Number four. How do people in the village keep safe from the virus? Well, the big thing is they're isolated. They're high up in the mountains. There's not a lot of traffic through there. People do go out from there um, to uh, to other places to sell goods. But so far, we haven't had. They've been safe so far. But if it hits there, we bought them a bunch of masks, and We've educated them. We've used money to educate them if it does hit, but so far it hasn't hit. That's one of the lucky things. And maybe if their immunity is different than ours, I don't know. But nobody, I've had 2 shots of the vaccine. That's 2 shots more than anybody in Haiti, the entire island has had. They have had no vaccines so far. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and praying for that they stay away from the virus. They're high up in the mountains, which really helps. Um, some questions about support, and then we're getting towards the our time limit here. Somebody asked if the Dominican Republic donates to Haiti also. Well, no, they actually use the Haitians. The Haitians go across the Massacre River into the Dominican Republic to work as kind of hired labor, cutting in the canes. It's sort of like the Mexican nationals will come across our border to help with agricultural things, picking and whatever, uh, during the season. And so they go over to cut cane, to raise cotton and pick cotton and things like that. But they just get paid very poorly. And so they use Haitian labor, but they don't really support the country. They're a poor country themselves. Not as Dominican Republic is not as poor as Haiti. Haiti and the Dominican Republic are the 2 countries on uh, the one island. It's called Hispaniola, or was, yeah. So they share the island. Dominica is poor, but they're not like Haiti. Haiti is, well, their people are in misery. Uh, the last question, I got a couple of questions for you. That's the 13 questions. Again, I'm impressed with the questions. Maybe it gave you a little background of why we've been doing this. Again, your parents did this probably if they went to St. Joe, maybe even your grandparents. It's because it's been going on for 30, this is 36 year now, which is quite spectacular if you think about it. So I've got 2 questions for you, and I can't give you the answer to these. Um, uh, and so this will be something to take away for yourself and to discuss. This question, my first question is, what would happen if we weren't supporting these students at this school? If we weren't supporting, what would happen if we weren't pouring our money and also our prayers? Hopefully, you guys are praying for Haiti every day, because that's the one they can't send us any other support other than prayer. They pray for us in the school every day. They pray for you as students, fellow students, every day. So the first thing we got to do is be holding these our brothers and sisters in Haiti are in your heart and praying. What would happen if we weren't supporting St. Francis Xavier? That's the name of the parish. Like we're St. Joseph, there's Saint Francois Xavier. What would be happen if for some reason we weren't supporting them? I think if you listen, you could come up with a guess for that. And then the last question I have for you is, um, how does it feel to save a person's life? Because that's what's at stake here. And I can guarantee you, when you get involved in this, and whatever you're bringing in. And the fifth grade is the ones who are making this happen this year, as the seventh grade did for many years, and then the fifth grade. Uh, so you have a big role. There's no telling. I'll tell you, there's no telling how many lives you're saving. How does it feel to save a person's life? Well, I've been there with these people, uh, and that's what keeps me going. I'm still working for it, even though I've been teaching at the school for years. I'm still working for Haiti because I've seen the lives saved. So you can be sure that your work this year will be saving many lives. Not many kids your age could do that and could actually say that, you see. So that's something to keep in your mind, that this is not just about numbers or whatever. It's about it's like the hummingbird. It's about you're doing what I'm doing what I can do. I'm doing my part, and and it will. Some kids will live because you're doing what you're doing, and so I thank you for your attention. You've been great. Um, Ms. Downs, I think that's about it, unless you had a question.
I don't have
It's about a half hour.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for meeting with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'll get this up on YouTube as soon as I can, and then I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And then anybody from another class could see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will send it out to the school.
All right, and a big round of applause for you guys. Keep going on this. It's a tough year. It's not our normal year as usual to do it, and you're doing. I think you've got some good teachers leading the way, and just stay on this. Stay on this. People are dependent on you.
Yes.
All right. Well,
All
I'll
right.
see you guys.
All right. Thank you,
They would say
Mary.
in Haiti. In Haiti, they would say bonsoir.
Oh,
Bonsoir.
bonjour.
Bonsoir. Bye bye.